Part 32. The Way to Music Service. You have arrived to your destination. The navigation system closed. I was near my destination. Somehow, I heard it in my head as, "You are near your last destination. You must go on your own." We saw the Seniors Welfare Center. The center was in a narrow alleyway, so I could barely park. I got out of the car, dusted off my suit pants, and got my tie right. I took my saxophone case and my music device that holds all of my sheet music and beats. I came up to find a small sign on the porch that said, "The Seniors Welfare Center," but there was no one inside the glass door. The 4-digit password was written next to the lock at the door. This door lock is intended to prevent the elderly from leaving without permission. If you have a business here, please enter the password. I took slippers out of the shoes box and went inside, but no one was there to meet me. I made a promise to be there at a certain time, but I thought they were too careless with me as a volunteer. Looking inside the glass door, there were many people in the main hall. The women in aprons moved busily. As I was looking around, I came across a middle-aged woman with a short haircut. She stopped working and came from the main hall. "I'm sorry, you called yesterday, sir?" The woman had a man's voice. "We're all waiting. I'm Parkin Suk, a social worker." She picked up my music device quickly. She led me into the main hall. There was a sofa on the 3 sides along the edge of the main hall. The elderly people were sitting there. Among them, there were only 3 male seniors to the right and more than 10 female seniors. The main hall was filled with a stale, gaseous smell, and I stopped breathing unconsciously. 2 women in aprons greeted me instead of laying cushions on the seniors' backs. How can they laugh so brightly in an environment like this? Are they innate or have a sense of mission? I am sure it is not about the money. To put the footrest on the floor of the main hall, they knelt down and raised the feet of the seniors. I could see the image of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. The demented elderly were shaken up by the health care workers, just like 1-year-old babies. The staff went up to the 2nd floor to pick up the elderly. They'll come down during the music device installation. The elderly here are 3rd-grade patients with relatively mild symptoms, so we bring them here by van in the morning and then take them home in the evening. If you think of it as a kindergarten or something, you'll easily understand. When I looked around in bewilderment, Park explained. As she clapped her hands, the eyes of the elderly were barely collected in one place. Not only was there nothing good for them, but everything seemed to be dull and annoying. "Now this handsome man is here to entertain you. Let's welcome him with applause." I bowed politely to them. The eyes who lost their focus managed to look at me, but only a few applauded. They did not seem to be having any fun at all. They were not young enough to be curious about new things. I suppressed a bitter smile. Park explained loudly, tapping their shoulders one by one, whether they responded or not. It had only been a year and a half since I learned saxophone, so I could not play well enough. Although they are old people with dementia, I was nervous to be on stage in front of them. I practiced 5 songs many times before I went there. I took several deep breaths while preparing the saxophone. Park connected the music device to the karaoke machine. She adjusted the karaoke machine to show only the lyrics on the screen, not the sound of the music. "If I let them see the lyrics on the screen, they may sing along." The seniors were sitting there like mannequins. "Grandma!" A boy in a school uniform shouted as he entered the main hall. Like sunflowers turning toward the sun, the old people turned their heads toward the exit. When they saw the smiling face of the boy, they all smiled. Park rushed to grab the boy's hand. "Oh, your school uniform looks good." The boy seemed to shine. The main hall, which had a disgusting smell and a lifeless atmosphere, was buzzing with activity at the presence of a active young boy. The boy sat on his buttocks among the female seniors without reserve. He touched on an old woman's shoulders and her hair neatly. The old woman, who looked at me with a sulky look, smiled with her toothless gums. "Grandma, shall we play rock, paper, scissors?" "Rock, paper, scissors. I won. Now, give me your forehead." The boy flicked the old woman on her forehead with his finger. The old woman's face, with her eyelids shivering, flushed like a girl. "Now, rock, paper, scissors. Grandma won. You need to flick me, but gently." Holding the student's shoulder with one hand, the old woman smiled when she was about to flick his forehead with the other hand. The boy closed one eye and frowned exaggeratedly. The old woman untied her finger and took the boy's hand. As the main character, I was pushed aside and felt like a supporting actor. "I think the boy is her grandson." Most of the old people were paying attention to the behavior of the boy and the old woman. "No, he is a student who got into trouble at school and had been ordered to fulfill his community service here. He went back to school after completing his mandatory service hours, but he sometimes comes to play and chat with the elderly. He is better than her real grandson." As the main hall opened, several public workers came in pushing wheelchairs with the elderly. Also, Park came in from the next room, pulling a quilt with an old woman on it. When the old woman on the quilt came in like a sled, the other old people clapped and had fun. When I was a kid, my mother used to drag me around the room, sitting on a quilt for children every time I whined. Looking at the wheelchair, I remembered my mother giving me a ride on the quilt, and I felt tears were bursting up. The old woman, who came out of the next room by the quilt sled, stretched her neck and pointed her finger at me with a grin on her mouth. "It's a bugle! A bugle! Grandma, this is not a bugle. It is a saxophone." Park approached and yelled in the old woman's ears. I thought she understood when I saw her nod, but the old woman soon said it again. "It's a bugle! A bugle!" And she made a face as if she had never seen it. She then pointed her finger at me, and she was amazed. Once upon a time, when there was a scratch on an LP record, the record player could not move on to the next verse, and it repeated the same verse, one after another. I remembered the record player was playing the same verse. My pink dress waved in the spring breeze, in the spring breeze, in the spring breeze. On the other hand, there was an old man in a deep sleep with his mouth wide open and his head bent even though it was noisy, like a market. As I watched the old people in the main hall, the phrase, "Don't live as a man who has not died yet," came to my mind. Soon I was startled as if someone had looked into my mind. I don't think old people wanted to live like this.